It's on my. You do. You see, you used to run the seniors.
No. I used to put there and
Let's start this. I had to come down. I saw when the actors come down.
Yeah.
I had to come down years before it did. Yeah, it was a terrible, but. Yeah, it was about ready to fall over.
I said, I wish I, maybe a time, I said, I wish I. Door.
Yeah, they would have had to push that, thank you, back and then the back. There was, these old buildings. If you get them early, that's not gonna, there's the wrong kid, this person, they're such a. But at some time, it's like, you could fix it while we get good, but you better be, let's know you're performing because of that. Just putting it, it was something else. Except the way it's out, just all. Said someone.
By level.
Yeah. I heard everybody used to come out. That's good memories. Everybody works on restaurants. I've always had. And I have. One thing. Those are sometimes where you don't have. Part of it.
Yeah, what's the?
Yeah, anything like that, getting hard stuff,
Yeah.
things like that.
That had Scott. All right. Yeah.
Look at the message, because the only one I had for them was.
Call, yeah. Lebanon City Council Committee is meeting for December 15th, 2025 to order. Roll call.
Who's gonna record?
I usually write your names down in advance. Washington.
Here.
Marcinkowski.
Here. From six.
Rumsick.
Here.
And.
Here.
You're here.
Balky here.
Rocky's here. Farrell's here. Sorry about that. Only see you once a week.
I'm a hard person to forget.
Well, tell me about it. Okay, we are going to move to comments. First of all, audience comments is 5-minute rule. Come to the center up here and speak your piece.
Sharon Dial. This is kind of follow on from a citizen comment last week. While I don't think a contract to survey the general city hall replacement issues is piecemealing right now, as I learn more about the underlying situation, I fully agree the ordinance needs to be changed. 25K is too high and too readily results in not only inefficient piecemealing, but in multiple types of corruption. The amount should be at a petty cash level. Everything else should be discussed and bid out. Further, Holland Construction should not be allowed to bid on the follow-on work for this effort because they will have more information than the other bidders, which is unfair. Speaking of ordinances that need to be changed, it's been over a year since I provided detailed information on the historic preservation related ordinances that are contrary to law and or misleading and internally contradictory. I've heard nothing about progress in addressing this. Given the importance of historic heritage to this city, when is this going to be addressed? That's it.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any other comments? Older person comment. Any comments from older persons? But I've got to bring up a B in the agenda anyway. Okay, let's move on to the agenda. Finance Committee.
All right, we've got an ordinance here written up to improve the tax levy that we talked about last week. 3% increase, a little under $8,000 compared to the year before. And I'll recommend we go ahead and submit that for a vote next week.
I second it.
Do we need
It's
that?
just a consensus that as
Oh.
long as you agree, disagree, then you speak up and we can talk about it. Okay, we will move that forward.
Also, regarding the meeting to get that approved, the 29th, Charlie wanted me to make sure people can make that, so we have a quorum, so we get that knocked out by the end of the year.
All
So,
right, that's on here to be approved December 29th, special meeting, 6:30 PM, right here. Basically, there's one item on the agenda, and that's tax levy approval. Besides the pro forma things. So go ahead, item 2.
okay, also talked about last week, city obtaining a credit card, to make acquisitions easier. And Jessica had mentioned Bank of Springfield, we have someone write in. You look into other possibilities, you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I can speak to that a little bit. I did call Luke and speak with him to make sure that we weren't doing anything wrong here. So to clarify, it's tricky because it's called a credit card. Some people use the name charge card, but it's basically a glorified debit card. So it's a card that we will have that's linked to our bank. It's not linked to our bank accounts, but it's backed by our bank accounts. So it has to be paid in full each month. But so right now, if we had a card, we would have to have one for each of our 14 accounts. So let's say they needed to pay for something out of general fund versus something for water and sewer, we would constantly be splitting and everything like that. This will allow one card that we'll be able to bill everything to, and then Michelle will take care of diversifying it. But it is backed by our bank accounts, and so it's not going outsourcing and doing like a credit card. And so I apologize for not making that clear, but that's why I said with Bank of Springfield is because that's where our operational checking accounts are. We also, to be clear, I know the letter speaks to shopping local for that. We did try to explore this in the past with local banks, and they wanted to have a social security number tied to it and wouldn't just do it in general for the city. And so we had to have an employee, whether it be the mayor or somebody, had to put their personal social security number on the line for it. This is not gonna be that way. It is backed by the 14 operational checking accounts that we have with Bank of Springfield. And will be tied to the EIN number of the city. So, does that make sense? Is there any other questions? Like I said, it's essentially a glorified debit card, but if it gets compromised, somebody can't get into all of our accounts and have to change account numbers and everything else. It'll stop there.
In other words, it's non-interest bearing.
Correct.
All right, so I don't know if Luke has to write something up on that, but I'll recommend we act on that next week.
Yeah, we need to get Luke needs to write up something, authorize us to do that.
One of the things that Luke asked me, as far as the authorization of who can use it, does anybody have any opinion of how we should structure that, or how? My thoughts were that it would remain at City Hall. And there would either be like a submission process through Michelle or Paul, or something along those lines to submit that of what they're needing. So like, for example, I know one of the things that some of the employees have ordered from Amazon, they could simply send the link to whoever is listed on, or who has the card, and they could place the order for it and get it delivered to City Hall for pickup. Is kind of where my thought was going. I would also probably extend to supervisors that if they're going, for example, to go, like Cody spoke to, going to pick up a truck, or a piece of equipment, instead of him having to put it on his personal card and then ask for reimbursement, that it would be able to have like a sign out process, that he would be able to sign that card out and then it would be returned to City Hall. But if you guys have any other ideas, I'm open to it. I just was trying to brainstorm what's the easiest way to have one card and to be able to function.
It's only gonna be department heads that are gonna be doing that, right?
Yes, I don't see any reason why it wouldn't need to be.
Someone has to, somebody,
Yeah, Cindy, Penny,
yeah,
and whoever you see fit up here.
and then you just have to have one or two people up here authorized to authorize them to use it, correct? And that's, we need to set that up, because then it answers these questions at the letter.
Yeah, so that's, Luke will have to include all that in the resolution. So instead of having him start pulling something up and putting something together for you guys tonight,
Yeah.
I wanted to kind of talk through that stuff with you guys and see. So that'll be spelled out in the resolution, and then the bank will have a copy of that says this is who is the authorized users and what it entails.
We have to do this. I mean, it's been terrible that you guys haven't had this in the past. And everybody always says we don't get anything done up here. There you go, another thing getting done. So I appreciate you looking into it.
Yep.
So I don't know if there's another bank that we wanna ask, but you've kind of done that already, correct?
Yeah, and Luke said that since it's not something we're paying for.
Right.
And it's linked to our accounts, it's not really something, there's not a
There's
bidding
no- there's no-
process, it's a
yeah.
service that comes along with our accounts.
Yeah, there's no benefit to any other bank to do that.
Well,
So,
why don't we go to another bank where we don't have an account? Just to get a card.
Because the card
Yeah.
is gonna draw directly from the checking account. The general fund for the city.
George.
You would have to transfer, we would have to go through another step, transfer funds. And our accounts are audited constantly. We know every time there's an expenditure coming up, checking, and whether it's a check or some other kind of draw, it's caught immediately on the city account. I think it would be cumbersome to do it at a different bank. Because then we would have to have some funds in that bank all the time.
because to that,
Because it's basically a glorified debit card.
was that the question you were asking?
No,
She said exactly what I said.
Is there anything else you want? You can-
forgive.
Okay. Anything else for finance?
No, sir.
Okay, that will be on the agenda for next week. We're gonna have to get a sound system, I think. Because that makes it difficult for the audience to hear.
Cody Pease is already looking into it. I've talked to him last week.
Okay,
I'll be in tomorrow, so you guys can be Monday on, yeah.
all right, sounds good. Then we have to have it with 6 or 7, 8 microphones or
Oh.
one that you pass, either that or you pass that along.
Either that or turn off the fan. That'd probably be the easiest thing to do and the cheapest thing to do.
Then it won't get cold or hot in here.
When it start running.
Sound makes
It's still hard back there.
Yeah, it's hard back there.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
The acoustics in there, it's an expense. But I think if, when we move to a new city hall, hopefully Cody's getting something, look at something that's transferable.
I mean, I know it sounds silly, but my kids have a pink boombox that has 2 microphones, I can bring it, and we can put one on each table, and it will work great.
At least for now, right?
For now,
It
yeah.
stays charged way too long, I promise.
Water and sewer.
He's not here.
Higher Plumbing has given us a bill. Penny, do you wanna address that?
There's a second pay request. This has been out since September. However, we just received it, weeks ago. This is actually, we met with here at Hunter Street to discuss the progress of where we're going and for here to give a price for taking the station out, putting it back. That is separate issue to this, but that was the conversation, and when that came up, the pay request came up as well. Well, we want to be paid for the work we've done. So pay request came out September, then had that meeting. They submitted a change to their pay request number 2. That is what you have in front of you tonight.
So are we having, are we really recommending the change order?
Well, I would not recommend that we approve what is in front of you with those amounts.
Okay,
So the point is to get it here for discussion. Because we do owe them money. But we do not owe them as much as what they are requesting at this time. Because they, for one, if you look where the retainage is, they've reduced the retainage down to 2%. That is not allowed for contract, it's gotta be 10%, so that needs to be on there at 10%. There's at least, well, I can read you the items that I think are an issue.
that's good.
So the prefabricated fiberglass lift station, they have that at 100%. I believe that should be no more than 90%. Now this is all for discussion. We can make it less. we can keep it what they're asking, but I would say that we need to have it not more than 90%. There's a line 7, 9, 11, and 13 are all things to do with the electrical. Station has never been started up. The pumps are not in the station, however, they were purchased. So, item general electric work, which is number 7. I would say probably not more than 80% on that. And then the other 3, 9, 11, and 13, I think should be 90%. Now, this has been a conversation, back and forth with TWM to discuss as well, and things that, you know, said, I believe that we owe them the money, they did their work, but we do not owe them as much as what they're asking at this point, because they have not installed the pumps, the electrical's not been checked out. Those things can't be paid for. We need to keep enough money that we've got something to hold them to do that at the point that we either, you know, the new, whatever they decide to charge TWM to pull this lift station and put it back in. We need to make sure that at the end of that, we have money held from them to do the startup, rest of the electrical work that needs to be done.
And can you prepare an
Yes.
itemized statement with correct figures on it for next week's meeting?
I can ask them to do that if you are okay with the amounts that I said.
I think,
I don't wanna have them redo
Yeah.
everything, or I can just write up what those amounts are. But if we want a corrected one from the engineer, are you okay with the amounts that I'm saying, or do we want them to be different? This is here for discussion, so.
we're supposed to have a 10% retainage anyway, so that 10% would be going right along with that.
Yes, the 10% is, that's pretty much a no-brainer. We know that it needs to be at least 10%. But the other items, are you okay with the 80 to 90% that I suggested, or do you want those to be less?
I'm for that.
For that. I think,
They haven't done a lot of work. Like she's saying too.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of work that still hasn't been done. I get they wanna get paid something, but
yeah,
it's a shit show over there. Unfortunately.
Linda, let's say,
Are those percentages good to you though? You wanna go more or less?
Oh, definitely less, but I'm no expert. So I don't know what the
Yeah.
right numbers would be, but like Penny's saying, definitely
Not
not
100%.
this.
No.
What are the right numbers?
So I think we have to, in my opinion, we have to rely on Penny's expertise in this situation. She's the head of that
mhm,
department, and I think you made a good call in letting us know this because I was reading. So I would say go ahead, but it's up to everybody else too.
Penny, could you ask Hire to give us a revised, invoice?
I will need to, do that with TWM, not with Hair.
Oh,
And then
TWM.
Hair would have to agree to whatever we're offering to pay, so.
Yeah, you will, right,
But yes, I will try to have that for you and get it to you before Monday night.
Hey Penny,
Yeah.
where do we stand with like TWM and? I guess
Yeah,
a short version,
Short version is, we met with them both at Hunter Street. TWM asked Air to give them a price to pull the station and put it back in at a deeper depth. As far as I know, that price has not been given to them yet, and I think part of that is because they want some money. You know, they don't wanna put themselves out there for more when they haven't been paid for what the work they've already done. Now, I get that. You said we, asked them to repair the road. They didn't do that. They did come back and do the yard, which was part of what I asked them to do, but not do they did not do the road. I see Cody saying, or, oh, okay, yeah, they didn't do the road. They also didn't raise the manhole, which is one thing I asked them to do, even if they could not do the road at that time, was to get the manhole raised to the top. So that is a point that I'm dealing with Hair over, because right now we can't access that. So we need to have that done, whether it's winter or summer or fall, I don't care, it needs to be done.
Yeah.
But But in saying that, I think we're also trying to work together to make it move forward quicker. Now, said, that, we don't have to agree to pay these amounts. We can agree to pay 70%, we can agree to pay 60% on some of those things. Those are just the amount of work that I think that they have completed. And the amounts with the retainage, if you take the retainage out of there, no, we would need to hold more back. But the retainage on there plus those percentages being reduced, I think would cover the amount of work that's not done. Minus obviously the lift station being pulled and reset. Which is not a price to us, that is a price to TW.
Penny, question out of ignorance. So the electrical work that they've done, did they have all the electrical completed for this pump and ready to turn on? And then we realized there was an issue. So they technically did the work, but TWM had it in the wrong depth. And so now we're having to undo that work and redo
And
it.
as part of that meeting, there will be probably the more of what. So there is the lift station itself and there's a valve vault.
Mhm.
They're hoping the valve vault could stay. They're saying that's not gonna happen. They're gonna have to remove the station and remove the valve vault and probably disconnect the electrical work that runs between the panel and the station. So, but that still was done work. They didn't have the power turned on yet to the panel, but it is set. They don't normally do that until everything's ready to flip the switch, and then they have, they have it signed off on by from Ameren, have it signed off from an electrical inspector, and then they put it on and test everything to make sure that it works.
Oh.
That part of it hasn't been done, but the electrical is there, it's ready, it's ran to the station. The pumps are not put into the station yet, and the wiring from the pump, which is connected to the pump, so they obviously wouldn't put that in right now.
Okay.
But then that would go over to the panel and then be turned on at the time of startup.
Okay. So I understand some of their frustration then that they did a lot of the work and it's not really, that part's not on them, that it's
Yeah.
wrong.
As far as I can tell from what all the plans and everything, they put in everything correctly, minus that the fitting or the pipe from the station to the old manhole, which, like I said, if they wouldn't have done that wrong, I wouldn't have found the issue anyway.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's still wrong. They know that level is wrong. But that is not a huge cost item to
Yeah,
put that in, but they have to have the station at the right depth to do that.
Okay. Thank you.
so basically we're asking you to go back and walk them through that and then bring it back to us next week. Can you do
Yes,
that?
I will do that with the percentages that we discussed. We good?
That will mean is that this item will need a motion at the meeting next week, won't be a recommendation.
Yeah, I think Penny will know more about what that is, and if
Oh,
that's
yeah.
your suggestion, I think we have to go with her expertise on that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but if we approve something here and recommend it from here, then it goes to the council as recommended, ready to go, simple vote. This now could be open for discussion again.
Well, you could approve it with those percentages now,
Yeah,
and then it could go as a recommendation. Or you can leave it for more discussion next week. That's up to you, but if you want to,
And you're comfortable with these percentages?
I am.
Okay.
But that's, that's why we're here talking to you all,
Yeah.
because you all have to be comfortable with them.
Yeah. Well, none of us are down there looking at the hole, and none of us are doing this, so we have to rely on your expertise, really.
yeah,
Um,
But I'm fine with it being a motion next week if you want the numbers in front of you too. Or I could sit here and figure out the percentages by the end of the meeting and tell you what those are too.
Are we gonna keep on pushing this back, keep on pushing?
no, we're not pushing it back, it's just, instead of it being an automatic vote.
Oh.
That's because it's
Just have to
recommendation.
second it next week.
Okay,
We
alright,
can't, technically, we cannot make a recommendation
right,
and vote on something different than a recommendation
gotcha.
without it being a motion. So we're gonna do a motion anyway.
So will someone from the group here put it as you know, on the agenda for next week, or do you want me to do that?
And could you go on the agenda for us, please? Because you'll have the correct information. Anything else for water and sewer?
I have one more thing, just that's not on the agenda, but for discussion, and Jessica and I talked a little about, different rates and things like that. So one of the things I actually found my paperwork today that was brought here in 2023 and never approved was, tap on fees being increased. I did refigure those, and for the next, committee meeting, I'd like us to look at those, to make sure we're recouping our costs. Cemetery stuff we've looked at several times, part of those in, we are not recouping at the, you know, they range some because of the distance that we run, water, but I think they need to be revisited. I have the prices all for that, and I will get them to you this week, and you can look at it at a future meeting.
Sure, because we did change the cemetery piece.
Yeah, and like I said, the last paperwork I had was from 2023, and it was decided not to or dropped at that time, but obviously they're not getting any cheaper.
I thought there was something done at that time, but I guess it didn't.
If there was, I couldn't find it in the minutes.
Was that on the fee schedule? In that same fee schedule that there's a lot of other things that I know we've been talking about looking at? Okay.
And I thought we did the fee schedule and included some of that. We did the changes of fee schedule a couple of years ago.
I don't think so. Do you remember stuff?
They're the same that they haven't gone up or changed.
Yeah, I do have that on my list of this coming year, though, that we're gonna be looking at that full fee schedule and evaluating all those, so if
Sure.
that'd be great, we can do it all at once.
That's a good idea.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay, anything from personnel,
No.
health and safety? I have a non-agenda item for health and safety, just to bring it up. Is it possible to get a pad outside this building, because we may have doors that can allow for wheelchairs and handicapped to get in. We don't have a way for a person to park out there and safely get a wheelchair or a walker up to the sidewalk. Cody, are you back there?
That's gonna pay over the amount of money I can do on my own, so it's back to you.
I think that's also something we have to run past the owner of the property.
Yeah.
We can
Just
just add.
we improving the property, it's some of the other things we've talked about too, it's tricky. Using taxpayer money to improve another person's property, so I can definitely, we can look into it.
Check on that, because it doesn't really solve all the problems. To have had the doors widened. And not have something that people can park on out front. Who need to use a wheelchair or walker and get in there. Remember, you're only a few seconds away from needing to use one at any time.
Sure, accessibility.
Okay, anything else for health and safety? Unfinished business. Third reminder tonight. Special meeting December 29th at 6:30 PM, right here. There's one item on the agenda, and that's the tax levy. Now we need to discuss updated about City Hall future. Just so I can lay a little groundwork here. We really need some feedback from staff and the mayor. As to what they want us to do, because we just sit here and we can just guess. We really need to have, Holland was supposed to do something. We really need to have that information from Holland, so we can decide what we're gonna do with the old building. Because we can't decide anything about a different facility until we know what are we gonna do with the old facility. So in my opinion, and we need to deal with, what are we doing with the old building? Before we make any recommendations for future, because we don't know what we're doing yet.
Have any suggestions came in yet? I'm not talking about.
I haven't gotten any. Has anybody else gotten any?
I think maybe Charlie could bring it to the next one. So the Holland thing, I guess there's some confusion what that was. So Holland went and just gave some rough estimates of what it would cost to do basic fixes, what it would cost to do basic renovations, what it would cost to tear down, rebuild, what it would cost to do major gut renovations, what it would cost to build new. Like it was just what if, what if, what if, what if. So like all your what ifs, and then that's the starting point that Charlie felt like you guys needed to say, you see these, and then where do you wanna go from there? Do you wanna rehab? Do you wanna rebuild? What do you wanna do? So I think he could probably come with some of that next week for you guys.
Yeah, that'd be good to have that, cause
And then
we,
maybe the chief wants to be in on that as well. Like he just went over it today,
I was gonna say, has he gotten it back?
just today.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's looked over it now. So I think he wants to have some input on that as well.
yeah, cause if we're gonna combine, safety with the building,
Yeah, it would be.
then, you know, but we can't just talk without having something to talk from. And does anybody disagree with that?
It's all gonna depend on the grant. It depends on money.
Depends on money, but we have to know in terms of what we're gonna ask for and what we have to seek out based upon what we're going to do.
Right. I
That's
agree.
the thing, like you guys have to start, so we know where to start looking for grants, like, because. Grants are more readily available for say rebuilding rather than there's not a whole lot for renovating. So it'll be, what do you guys decide? And then we know which way to go for looking at money.
And and if we're doing it for safety reasons, health and safety, which is what we're doing it for, there's probably more grants available for that than there is just to build a new building or renovate a building. We're doing it for health and safety. All right, there's even some, I believe there's some allowance in, taxes for health and safety that do not require a vote of the residents because it's for health and safety. So we have to decide what it's for. That's how the new elementary school got built 10, 15 years ago, whenever that is, because they received health and safety funds for it. Okay. Any other discussion about the city hall renovations or future?
I mean, I have my opinions on it, so I mean,
Yeah, what's your opinion?
I agree with you. We have to get what Charlie got back from Holland. And when we see those numbers again, we can decide what to do. I mean, there's a bunch of different options, so it's gonna be hard to do because there's 8 of us and then Charlie and you guys that are trying to make a decision on that, so in order to move forward, I mean, who writes grants in a year? Is that you,
It's
Stephanie?
gonna be Michelle.
Okay,
And then the chief is working with this as well because he knows other police departments and connections there, political connections. We talked about that a little bit today, like political connections to get some of this grant money.
so is that mostly state money or federal money?
It's gonna be mostly state.
So you've been looking into that already? Because there's some things that can be done before we have
Yeah, I feel like
plans.
we're in the information gap.
Yeah, you have to, because we don't have floor plans, we don't know where we're gonna build it, we don't know what property we're gonna build it on, we don't know if we're gonna retain that and or tear that down. There's gonna be monies for each one of them, and we don't have any money. So we keep on going back to that, but if you're doing that already, which is helpful, that's good you're already doing that, because you can do a lot of that kind of. That's
One
how,
of the guys that walked with him with Holland said, we are the worst city hall he's ever seen. So
yes,
We want a prize there.
The worst. Lebanon.
yeah.
The worst.
But the beautiful thing about that is that the next one will be, usually you go from a building, if it's like a 1, like that city hall building is now. And you go to a 10, usually you have to go from 1 to 3 to 5 to 10. We can make a nice big jump. And have something beautiful that the city can be proud of and that you guys can enjoy working in,
That building's a -20.
yes,
See, that's my opinion. My opinion is if we're going to
yeah,
do it,
do it right.
do it right.
Yeah, do it right, and you can get the money.
It'll
for it.
last longer.
My opinion is that we should tear it down. Pave over it, but like a mini park with, like a lot of these other towns are doing, so they can have parking. And they can also have markets there.
Fiber internet.
Yeah, yeah. And then figure out, but we have to do that and we have to do a couple other things at the same time.
Right.
So, and we can't let everybody know, like you've said in the past, because properties, if we decide to buy property that we don't own now. And we let people know where it's at, that property goes up in price, so. It's and Charlie right now he's not, right now he's having some family health issues. So we gotta be a little patient, it's not gonna happen real quick, but if you're already doing some of this, that's great.
Yeah, I would, to share like through some of the research and stuff that I found and everything, I've shared with you guys a little bit, but if you look at all the communities that are starting to see their downtowns come back to life, it's having that community space with the stage and things like that and having places. And if you're on Facebook, you saw the city get ripped to pieces over the parking with Victorian Holiday and things like that. We know parking's an issue up there. And the way I personally am approaching all of it is that even if we build a city hall somewhere else, the project of what's up there now
Yeah.
is one project.
Yeah.
It's two things, but we have to be able to say to the public and be able to make a commitment that our financial commitment is we're building this city hall, but also we are fixing this into a parking lot and we're revitalizing downtown. I don't want it to be like, oh, we're gonna do a city hall and then we forget about that for 10 years and we go through 3 different mayors and
Yeah.
we're down the road and it's still sitting there.
That's not gonna be real expensive to do that,
Yeah,
but
once we make that commitment, to be honest,
Yes.
we could start working on that.
Grants available for
Yes.
things like that.
Yeah,
in my opinion, I would have loved to renovate that building, but it's unrenovable.
it's too far.
It's too far. It's so far gone, so that's not an option really for us to do. So if that's not an option and we find that we can correct parking, people complain about parking anyway, all the time, people complain. I mean, they have to park right next to the door and then they'll go work out at the gym for 2 hours, So, but it would be nice to have more parking, but really. The fact that we can clean that up and make it look like something. So, anyway.
Right there, do that. I have football players who would rent the duplex across the street from my house and drive down to the gym for football practice.
Yeah.
That's 2 blocks. Okay. Anybody else on that before we move on? Okay, we have a presentation and surplus property bid opening. So let's do the presentation first. Misaka Telecom.
Okay, well, good evening. Thank you, Alder Council and staff for the opportunity to present to you this evening. My name is Jade Pyrus de Carvalho, and I work in market expansion for Socket. We're an internet service provider based in Columbia, Missouri, and I'm joined here by 2 project managers who oversee construction in the St. Louis area, Brandon and Cody. They're here to answer any questions you might have or address any concerns. I do have a presentation we provided. I won't bore you with going through all of it. I did want to just briefly outline who we are and what investment we have planned in your community, and again, address any concerns you might have. Socket has been a telecommunications provider of phone and internet service for over 30 years in Missouri. We're also registered with the Illinois Commerce Commission to provide or be in the utility right of way for telecommunication services. We like to think we operate a little bit differently than some of the other providers you might be familiar with. We've outlined our pricing schedule and how we communicate. We don't have any contracts. We have one fixed price. You know exactly what it is. We don't have add-on fees. One thing we really pride ourselves on is communicating in advance, which is why we're here today. We've been working with your city clerk for quite some time and have presented designs. We want the community to know what our plans are, hear the concerns before we start doing this project, because broadband is infrastructure and those projects are inherently disruptive, right? Any construction project is. We have outlined the phases of our construction project, just so you have a good understanding of how this works. We've been working on design and planning, like I said, with your city staff. At this point, we're really interested in getting permission to pull a permit. And after we get permits approved, we'll do something called locates, which is where we meet with all the different utility providers in the right of way and make sure that everything is marked so that we hopefully don't hit anything as we're building. We put signage up in your neighborhood so people know we're coming. We put door hangers or yard darts on so people know what's going on. You're gonna have calls. We want them to understand what's going on before that happens. And then the mainline construction begins, which is where we start working in the right of way, and you'll see trucks and drills and people's yards being disturbed. We come right back through as soon as we do that mainline construction and start restoration. Kind of gets into the nuance, but a lot of companies wait till the very end. We do that restoration all the way throughout. I'm gonna let Cody and Brandon speak to that a little bit more. One thing I did want to mention is that we are really enjoying working in Illinois. We just recently started in Granite City, Belleville, Swansea. We'll be working in Huntington Beach and Troy in the next few weeks. So we're really building some momentum and excited to get started here in Lebanon. And with that, would like to answer any questions you might have about this build.
How deep does fiber go?
So typically, we like our infrastructure to be between 24 and 36 inches. Okay, and that's obviously dictated by current and existing utilities. Anything that's already in the ground, we like to keep a 2-foot minimum separation of, especially gas, water, and electric. Other communications, we all tend to kind of group together in easements, right of ways. But we try to maintain that 2 foot of separation regardless.
Do you sleeve that? Do you sleeve it with,
So what we do is, we have 2 forms of implementation. One is directional boring. So we have a drill rig that can go anywhere it wants. It's located the entire time to steer it, to maintain depth.
Yeah.
And the other way is with what we call a missile. A missile is basically an air hammer for anybody who's familiar. They dig a trench, they set it in flat and level, they point it to the next hole 20 to 30 feet away, and it hammers its way over to that hole. Then, once either of those rigs is brought through, they attach a conduit to the end of it and they pull it back through to the start. So the fiber then gets blown inside of that conduit and is safeguarded in that way from interference and elements.
okay, cool.
Between those, obviously, we have access points that are needed for branch offs, for house drops, for residential supply. Those are flush mounted structures that are placed in the ground as well, at all intersections. And between most yards and most premises to feed multiple homes out of each access point. Those
I think
flush
that
mounted.
is another thing that kind of sets us apart. A lot of providers have these big pedestals that are in your yard and, residents don't really like those. Ours will just be flush to the ground.
You can mow right over
Oh,
them.
right.
Most cases, flower pots and small handholds are green tops, so they actually blend in with the yard. Just driving by, you're not even gonna notice them.
During the construction process too, we're also setting all these structures before they put the vault actually in, we're setting it on a bed of rock. That way, the handholds aren't settling in the ground as well. Once they get that rock on the bottom of it, it helps with drainage, helps with the box not settling. So it's once it's set on that rock, that handle will not go anywhere.
It also prevents freestall line from pushing them back out of the
Yeah,
ground. And
yep.
most of the time they are tapered in such a way that the ground holds them in. So. Any other questions?
How long do you see it taking to get through the 8 phases?
It's dependent on permit process. I mean, some cities allow us to have multiple permits at once. Some will only allow us to have one build area at once, and then once we finish that one, we move to the next one. So it's really dependent on that.
So we'll work really closely with Cody, Terry, right? And see what. That's called you like 18 times. I've never seen you in person. You in the flat.
My question I was gonna have for you is, it's not so much dependent on streets and alleys on stuff, but our water and sewer department. They have their open house to do day in and day out too. Penny Zimmerman in the back there. What is your goal on like linear feet? Because we're not gonna be able to keep up with locates as fast.
Of course.
For stuff.
So as we pull in tickets, we don't call them all in at one time. We stagger them and we space them out. We limit them hopefully to 200 to 500 feet per ticket. And of course, we have to have a Julie meeting with all the locating entities before we can ever begin construction, typically right after the permitting process, so we know what area you're going to. We work very closely in hand with all of the locating entities, whether it be State Center, USIC, local municipalities, and other existing utilities, to make sure that everything is located ahead of time. Now, before we start construction here, the first of the year comes Julie's positive response, which is a huge thing. Okay, we will no longer be wondering if these locates are done by all of the locators. We will now know after 72 hours that yes, these are good, these are ready to go. Now, we don't want to overburden any utility, especially a local utility. So our contractors and we work very closely in hand to make sure that you guys are informed with weekly meetings and updates as to where we're heading, what our expectations are, what we're seeing in the field, and we try to not overburden anyone, because
I
then.
think your locate capacity is
I think it was 500, right?
250 or 5.
Depends on the week.
Right, depends on the week, depends on the weather, depends on whether we have snow.
In addition to everything else that we have going on, so.
Of course.
And I think the biggest thing we do in our cities, that all of our coordinators do is we have weekly meetings with these locators. To see, hey, how's it working? Hey, this contractor's calling in too much tickets. Okay, let's change it. So we're in constant communication through the whole construction progress. And as far as communication and like he said, I know they'll be behind, but as far ahead as we can keep them ahead, like, hey, we're here right now. This is where we plan to go. This is where, so I think it's just communicating where we're gonna go next. This is where we're starting. You know, right down to the street, to we're going this way, to this street, to that street. I think that helps out a lot.
Transparency.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
keep in mind
communication.
too, that everyone else that they're dealing with, locators are their own locators, that's all they do, they locate.
Right,
We're doing,
you guys have in-house.
you know,
that
we're
have
doing
to-
our own stuff and then
take
they're
off
adding all
tasks.
this on top of it, so. Therefore, it's harder for us to do large areas at a time, so
you know,
when you're
and-
saying one permit at a time, that sounds a whole lot better than. The entire town at a time, because.
Right. So then, something that maybe we could explore, going forward for you guys is the possibility of managed service and having a locator. Come out
Yeah.
as long as you allow them access and permit them to locate your utility.
That would be really great if we
Yeah.
had lines that were locatable with
Yeah.
utility, but we don't.
Fair enough, so,
This is our locator.
right.
Locator.
And if you're working off flat maps and measurements, then if that information can be supplied to an outside entity that you're granted permission to.
Yeah, we've been offered that before, but I don't
And
think
here-
that would work in.
Okay.
Hearing that and how like locating and traceable and not having maps. Primarily, like my plan already, just hearing you that, is to have the hydro excavating. So that way you're not even worrying about. We've got a shovel in the ground, you know, we're trying to spot it with a shovel, but hydrovac is water and suction, so there's nowhere, you know.
And we had a lot of these conversations in another meeting.
Absolutely.
And I brought forth a lot of this stuff and they were, you know, agreement to. At a hydro and,
Yes.
you know, and we are using, we're using witching rods to locate some of this stuff, so it's
Yeah.
not, the accuracy is not always there, so. You know, we asked about, if we located here and, hey, they're not seeing it there, call us, because obviously it's, we've not got it located where it is, so.
And you're miles ahead of where we probably wanna be right now. Like the location services will be coordinated if we do, right? Between the city and. And we've had concerns in the past, we have been approached by other organizations to do similar things.
Right.
And one of them was gonna do a combination of board and overhead, and we're saying, no, wait a minute, we don't own all the poles and. And we don't own all the yards, we've got so many, some of our yards have what, they have water, sewer, power. Some kind of hill, everything else going through it already.
Looks like a rainbow.
It is crazy.
One of our concerns that night too, which I don't know who all was here at that time, was for our homeowners whose laterals are not gonna be marked. Because those are homeowner owned, they're private, so the likelihood to. Well, if you're at 36 inches, 24, 36 inches, probably not as likely, but there are some that are there,
Right.
and,
It sounded like you guys had a lift station that handles some of that, so some of them are gonna be shallower because they are slab homes, not full basements.
So that was a concern that we spoke about also, and, where does that liability land then for the homeowner who, isn't going to be able to mark that sewer, and then they bore through it and there's a problem, so.
I think a lot of the transparency here is, I'm from Breeze, Illinois, so I dealt with the Clearway communication that everyone dealt with. in the
Right,
first one.
so that.
Yeah, but I lived through it, so I know you guys' pain, but a lot of that we pride ourselves on is all of our contractors have our logo, Socket Fiber. We're in market of every one of our builds every day. Driving past it, we have contractors in there, you're gonna know Socket is doing the work. We have door hangers that will have contractors' numbers, contractors' information, my phone number, his phone number, so there is people. Even past, we do an area, we go on to the next, some homeowners got a problem, we'll go take care of it right away. So, just want you to let you know, like, we're not just coming in here doing the work and we're leaving, we're
We're here to stay.
Yeah, we're
We're
local.
putting a system in place.
Where's your
for people
hub?
For a long time.
Where's the main and hub? Where?
Columbia, Missouri is where the main hub is right now. We're working on a local St. Louis office out in Ellisville right now. Just a smaller little warehouse for us, St. Louis, but we're building a St. Louis team right now. We're a director, more coordinators, permitting, everything, so.
And the one permit at a time is not an issue.
Yeah,
If that's your capacity, we're working with lots of.
the city of Belleville, we're working one permit at a time, and and I'll do this with you guys too, is, we walked the neighborhood that we're doing construction, like, I'm open, transparent, I'm not gonna hide anything our construction guys are doing, I'll show you the construction process, I'll show you the restoration. And he was actually very pleased with our work there, no problems there, so, yeah, like, I'm all willing, if someone from the city will do closeouts, I'll walk it with you, I'll do whatever it takes to kind of sign off on the build, and like, hey, does this look good to you? You want me to fix something, I'll fix it.
So the bottom line is that you are proposing to make available to every structure in this city fiber service.
Yes.
Whether or not the owner of the building or structure
They want it.
wants
Right,
it, takes
yeah.
it, it's gonna be offered, it's gonna be there.
Yep, we're just giving you another option besides the charters and the other.
Spectrums and
Yep.
Uh,
More reliable than the old coax cat TV. Once the fiber's in the ground, it don't get disturbed by weather, it doesn't get disturbed by, the only thing it's gonna get disturbed by if someone hits it underground.
And it sleeps, so you can always replace it.
Right, yep, so there's not much that can disturb it.
Yeah.
And a big thing I heard from just the first meeting when we came over here was, I'd really like to get your city offices all connected on it. And, even if that's your own, the city has their own fiber network,
Would you be willing to build a new city hall for us?
No, we'll put fiber to it, all the fiber it needs.
The first place you put fiber.
Why is that? They're on priority.
One of our cabinet locations, which is like,
The structure.
we're looking out by the McKendree Wrestling place, kind of working out, starting there on the west side is kind of our initial plan. Cause we wanna start, obviously, we don't wanna start on the northeast side of town and our cabinets on the west side of town, and we just built half the
Yeah.
Lebanon and no one can get service yet. 'Cause
Right.
So
we wanna start from a power source and.
Yep.
And where's that at?
Fire water treatment plant, that'd be great.
Oh, southeast.
Southeast
Yeah,
is
yeah, that's
pretty
pretty good. Oh, I left that meeting, I told him, like, we gotta get her some internet out there at the
So-
plant.
That's something I'd like to speak on too, is back to, the utilities, the existing utilities and the level that we hold our contractors to. Like he said, we are in market on these jobs every single day. We rotate. There's two of us on this side and myself and another guy on the other side of the river that we rotate, and we watch these guys like a hawk. We hold them to a standard that is much higher than most of the other utility contractors that you'll find. We make sure that any utility that they're crossing is spotted beforehand. They don't send a bit or a missile across that utility without watching it happen.
Visually seeing the
Yes.
utility.
Also, on the other side of that. Kind of lost my train of thought there. What was I gonna say? So they have to see it. And then the backfill, the restoration.
Your restoration.
A lot of times,
Yeah.
these crews are restoring the ground that they worked that day. Like most of our residents and homeowners in our build areas right now are leaving for work in the morning. And there's 10 guys out on their street and there are holes everywhere with mounds of spoiled dirt on tarps all over people's yards and they're freaking out. They get to work, they go through their day and they come home and it's all gone. I kid you not, it's all gone. And they call us and they're like, what happened here? What they're calling their city and going, what happened on my street today? I thought there was a huge problem. There was dirt and people everywhere, all this high vis stuff, and now it's all gone. Well, that's how we operate. That's how we push our contractors and we hold them to a footage as long as it's locatable and we can do it in a safe manner. But we practice as much safety as we can. We spot utilities. If we cross them, oh, that's the other thing. If we're paralleling, okay, if we're paralleling gas, water, or electric, I have these guys spotting the utilities every 100 feet to make sure that it's maintaining the course that it's located on. Just because there's paint flags there doesn't mean that it's there, okay? That gas line might do this, it's plastic. So I make them spot the stuff every 100 feet and I hold them to that because I don't want these hits. I don't want people's service interrupted, especially this time of year. Their electric and their gas is their heat. I don't want people being cold. That doesn't look good on us and that doesn't do anything for the residents.
And we know, we're gonna get the general complaints that happens when, you know, you go into people's yards and we're gonna get the general complaints, but if we can hold it to the general complaints like that, we're happy with that, you know, we know the construction process is not the prettiest, but when we're done, we hope it looks the same, if not better.
How far can you bore?
It depends on the rig.
Our drill crew, so
So there should be much.
Typically
much
about
less.
300.
in Swansea,
300 to 500
in Swansea and Belleville last week, we did 13,000 feet.
Wow.
No, that was several crews. That wasn't.
Yeah, that wasn't just
That wasn't one crew. That
Yeah.
was one contractor,
Yeah.
but with multiple assets.
Yep.
Yes, they're able to do 13,000 feet a week.
Will it be boring on the weekends?
No,
That
That's up to
typically
you.
not, but that is also up to and set by the municipality, the city, the
Right.
township.
right now.
Correct. We prefer them not to be. We like our guys to stop midday on Friday,
Yep.
clean up and restoration that afternoon. People get home from work Friday, nobody's on site.
Well,
Saturday,
we probably want that because if something does happen, we don't want these guys having to
I
work
don't-
weekends.
I don't
we
wanna,
don't
I don't
want
wanna be on a hit on
Yeah.
Friday night, and I know you guys don't wanna be on a
Yeah,
hit on
yeah,
Friday
absolutely.
night. No, thank you.
Yeah.
So Monday through Friday.
The only work on Saturday, if it's approved, would be pulling fiber. That's just, the structures are, I mean, they're just pulling fiber or setting handholds. So
There's no equipment running.
Yeah.
No equipment running.
Good presentation.
Any other questions? And we'll be passing out cards and
Yeah.
contact information. If you guys think of anything else, don't
Yeah.
hesitate to call.
So as far as moving forward with permit approval, would that be something that is done at staff level, or do we need to come back next week? Or
Yeah.
you just move, okay,
Permitting is all done at the staff level, unless there's gotta be something that's not in ordinances. Then we've got to.
Hey.
While you're asking for some kind of variance.
Yeah, this was just kind of letting you guys know information and then also so the clerk will hold the right of way permit. We'll probably have, when you guys hub your areas. Have a separate permit once you get so far away from certain areas. There are a couple of small fees with it. Nothing over the top, but just that way. We can associate a permit with the job area. So if you're in the north side of town and then something happens in the south side of town. Probably not choose permits, so we can establish the difference instead of having a one permit cover all, unless I'm wrong, Penny.
Not a blanket.
If it's across town pretty far, it makes sense to.
Yeah, and I think last time clearly we were looking for approval from the council as to move forward. And allow that to come through town. That was where they were held up with the council. So I think a vote would be nice next week just to say, yes, we are approving it so that we're all on the same page with.
Yeah, before we let you guys dig up everybody's yards,
Absolutely.
I think it would be a good idea.
Definitely.
And I don't think it's that much mess because you're boring so far, you just have something you can fix.
In fact, we have an ordinance that controls that.
Yeah. And like you said, majority of it's all gonna be restored back the same day. The only thing you may have is a duct stubbed up where a handhole is going.
Yeah.
They haven't set the handhole yet, but as far as majority of people's, and you're only gonna find that on the corners.
Yeah.
Of people's property, you know, they'll have it stubbed up small 2 foot from the ground where they're gonna set a handhole, and usually they come back and set structures the next day or so.
Bright orange, so it's highly visible.
Yeah, yeah.
When would you be looking to start to, like if they go through the equivalent? I forgot, I know you had talked about it before, I just don't remember here.
Yeah, that's 22nd. We'll make sure that.
Yeah.
Just gonna put this on the agenda.
22nd,
I'll
but
make
they.
sure it's on the.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask one question of us?
Yeah, yeah.
In this, you guys have the monthly price illustrated in the thing. Is that like, is that the monthly price or does it fluctuate or is this just a sample of what that looks
I
like?
think that's just for the gig price.
Okay,
So, and we do have others.
One tier.
Yeah.
There are other higher and lower, I assume.
Gig is just our most popular price.
Okay.
Usually the highest take rate. A lot of people working from home and kids playing their video games, so usually the gig is the bread and butter because. From price range, really.
okay.
So we can bring that next week
Yeah.
if you want.
We'll bring all the prices next week.
Yeah, 'cause I'm on Gigabyte right now.
Yeah, and then have you guys, how do those rates usually jump around quite a bit after year, or do you guys try to? See, history has shown that you try to keep them stable, or is that something you can answer for me next week?
I mean, historically, yeah, they've been very stable.
Yeah,
Okay.
I haven't seen them jump around.
We don't increase every 2 to 3 years like a lot.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, I can't promise that, but historically. we-
Of course, yeah, well, I know that's,
People in at $70 and then like, when you're.
And then a year later, it's $140. It's not like.
that's one of the biggest
Well,
complaints I think our residents
this-
have, is
this-
one of the only suppliers we have, they lock you in at like $45 and then now I'm at $179.
Or she'll just stop service it.
Historically, I've actually seen prices go lower just because of competition
Yeah.
and other people, like, you'll be amazed how many Spectrum deals you guys are gonna get, if it's coming.
There's your mailbox.
Oh my gosh, I can just do $40, well, oh my gosh, you know?
Okay,
Here's where we differ with fiber versus Spectrum. Spectrum's limited bandwidth wise by their copper. This is fiber to the home. You have matched upload and download speeds, and it doesn't change.
Each home is getting their own designated line, you're not sharing with your 5 other neighbors.
so when the college kids are doing their homework at midnight, I can still watch a movie?
Every
It's-
TV in your house.
Yeah, it's no contracts, cancel anytime, so
Exactly.
that's just the way it works.
Yep.
Great, thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
no problem, thank you for having us.
Letting it be there.
Okay, there it is.
Yeah.
One more thing on the agenda. There's a surplus property bid here.
Yep.
You wanna open those? Name of this bidder and the amount,
Okay.
Thanks.
and what they're bidding on.
There's 3 baby.
Well, we got 5 in here for something.
5, okay.
Can Vanna opens these up while I read this?
I think that's a reference to you.
Can you open it up for me? There's some time. Sorry, Mike. All right, okay, this is from, okay. To the city of Lebanon, Illinois, this is a sealed bid for the 1952 Loft Strand generator. This bid is for the amount of $150. If bid is taken, please contact that below. Do I need to say who's bidding?
Yes,
Blake Planky, yeah. So. Do I open these up, just make sure these other ones are not for the same thing?
Said to open them all.
Yeah.
open them all, read them all, that way
You
you
know,
know what they're doing.
all right. Surplus streets equipment for. What's it for? Okay, the SP 111 horsepower 324542 105 John Deere. Power plant. And it's a chipper, a more bark chipper for $1,500. And $1,501, I'm sorry, in those cents. And the buyer's name is Eric Van Eck. And that's that one. Thank you, Nick. You're doing such a great job. All right. Village Developers Illinois would like to submit a purchase bid of the amount of $353. And those cents for surplus item number 3, a federal signal tornado siren. Boy. Well, I wanted that one for my house.
What was it, 3 what?
$353.53 for the Thunderbolt type 1000 SMTC 7D. Bottom half, top half. So I guess that was all part of that.
Yeah.
And that was from Chief Brian Weber from Elbers Police Department.
And
Okay, thank you, sir. I feel like we're handing out the Oscars. Okay, this is a handwritten one by. They want to buy the Moore Bark Model 13 shipper, Matthew Ferris, $3,755. I believe that was higher than the other one.
Yes.
The chipper, yeah, this is a much higher bid. So the other bid was, $1,501, no cents, and this one is $3,755 and no cents. So if they're both good bidders, I recommend taking this one.
well, we have to wait till the fall and then.
Yeah,
You got one more to open?
I have, oh, so, don't worry. Okay. Another more bark wood chipper. Rudy Atkins. He's offering $3,001. So, he also is asking to purchase the generator for $151. And a tornado siren for $151. Oh, let me look back here.
So we should have Rudy's getting the generator at 151,
Right,
the chippers with Matthew at 3755. And the
Yeah.
tornado sirens with the Village of Albers for 353.
Uh,
Is that what everybody else
And
did?
53 cents.
And 53 cents, sorry, I didn't write down the
Yeah.
change, my bad.
Yeah, and I'll hand you these too, so you can have these. Yep, there you go. You're right, correct.
well, that's the way the ordinance needs to be written.
Where does this money go?
You know, fund.
General fund. We spent it already.
Gotcha. Alrighty, I guess this is on you, Cody, to make sure these get delivered or they pick them up, correct?
Yep.
Thank you for doing that.
After we do our ordinance, then they can come pay for it.
Yeah. Thank you for taking care of that. That was necessary.
I just took pictures and turned in the serial number.
Well, somebody did something and that was helpful.
Thank
We got a great
you.
step.
Is there anything else? Anything else? There being no further business, then we are adjourned.
That's, you know, about 50 years ago, they knew the company out in Belleville. And wiped his phone about lunch and. Just, yeah. 8 years ago.